All right. Welcome everyone to the Validator community discussion. January 19th. So the agenda today, no speakers, so we have some time for Q&A discussion at the end if anyone wants to bring up any topics. Couple things I wanted to highlight. So there was a consensus bug on January 9th, I believe, or no, 7th, I think, that I'm sure a lot of you are aware of. Just kind of wanted to highlight it as a process win in some ways. The network didn't go down. We found a bug in production and rolled it back and figured out a fix. So cool win there. Core Dev Sync, which is tomorrow. We'll talk about some updates both in mainnet and testnet that are coming out today. And then educational workshop, which I have still yet to do. So that's the agenda, then just some time at the end for Q&A. Yeah, so like I mentioned, on January 7th on 9th, there was a consensus bug found in mainnet, but only on the 1.14.10 version of the client. About 10% of the network went offline. But the cool thing was that because of the process we've set up, the 10% that went offline didn't take down the cluster, right? So we were able to catch a production runtime bug before we fully rolled out 1.14.10, which is great. It was fixed in 1.14.12, and that's currently the recommended version. Well, for the 10% that are upgrading, that is the recommended version. So yeah, win for the deployment process. You could check out details here at this issue. But essentially, it was some change in logic for how a transaction was processed. So good win overall. Yep. Is there a question? Go ahead, Zentetsu.
Yeah, I just want to point one thing out, and that is that I think that this does highlight that if testnet had more representative forms of transactions, then this might have been caught before it even made it to mainnet. I know the transaction that invoked this was one that used a fairly esoteric instruction or something like that, and that's not normally used, or some combination of instructions. And if I know that it's impossible to have complete coverage of all types of transactions that could be executed, but this is the kind of thing that if testnet were running real or some simulation of real transactions, it would catch it. It's great that it was caught in mainnet before it crashed things, but much better would be be caught even before it endangers mainnet. So I just wanted to point that out.
Yep, I agree completely. I think there's some work that I've heard about going on about making testnet a little bit more representative of the real world, and I could check in on that to see what the status is. I haven't heard about it since Breakpoint, so it's been a while. But yeah, I completely agree. I think there's efforts going on to make testnet both match mainnet a little bit better and also have similar traffic, or at least more similar traffic, so that it's a little bit more representative.
Have you thought about any foundation incentives that can be given to common, DeFi systems to sort of like support testnet by including their own programs there, keeping them up to date, and running their own tests against them regularly, or something like that? I mean, you don't have to shoulder all the burden if it's sort of like something that becomes expected of, or of well-behaved DeFi systems to sort of be making sure their stuff, is stress tested on testnet, that it could prevent these kind of problems.
I mean, we're working with the Mango market to add such an application. So basically, market making simulation added to testnet. The status is we tested in the testnet, and we are adding it to run regularly on BuildKite, so that the results of the simulation is like log files and some other information is available for Mango markets folks, and also kind of maybe for broader community. I don't know. So we're working on this part, or on DeFi application.
And let's not forget about DevNet here, because I mean, all of these apps presumably have a version running on DevNet. That's where they started. And so for them, it might actually be an easier lift to just do more QA testing on DevNet run different permutations, different ideas, trying to fuzz a bit, do all that on DevNet where the programs are already installed. And DevNet, of course, will be running, latest, late versions as well. Maybe not quite as cutting edge as testnet, but still. But I'm not talking about a stress test on DevNet. Big difference there, right? QA testing is probably what we need here, and not so much that we're going to try to stress DevNet and take it down. That would be bad for everybody. So.
Yeah, a lot of developers rely on testnet, so it's definitely not one that we want to stress. But yeah, right. I think both points are valid, right? Like, we can encourage the community to test sort of all permutations of their DeFi systems or whatever else they're working on DevNet, and we can also continue with the work that Kuro mentioned on adding more testing on testnet as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I think maybe Solana Labs, who runs these, who kind of is the authority over these networks, maybe should give some guidance on what they would like to see happen on those networks. I mean, if we want DevNet to be sort of peppered frequently with tests to ensure that nothing's breaking for the DeFi apps, as new versions of the software is rolled out, then that's fine. I just want to make sure that someone chooses what the right one is to use, and it's, and probably the people that run those networks should make that choice.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, so it's a good point. I'll take an action item just to get kind of up to speed on the work there and report back next time. All right. Another thing I want to highlight is the core DevSync is happening again tomorrow at this time tomorrow. So it's the second call. The agenda is posted in Validator announcements. The agenda is the program runtime v2, transaction instruction limitations, and SIMD 16, which Max is working on. So, attendance was great last time. I encourage you all to come and just hear what people are working on and talking about and upcoming changes to the protocol. So definitely check that out tomorrow. Any questions about that or thoughts on the core DevSync?
Can you give us a teaser to get excited about runtime v2? What is that?
I actually don't know. So the teaser is it could be anything. Yeah, I haven't been up to speed on that work. So yeah, I'm not sure what the topic is.
All right, we'll tune in to find out.
Yeah. Yeah, tune in tomorrow, same time. Some updates for the clients for mainnet. So
Alessandro's on the call. He might be able to answer Brian's question.
Oh, go for it.
Sorry, I was just making coffee. Yeah. We have been working on a faster and more developer-friendly version of the runtime. So there are two things that we're working on right now. We're making the current runtime faster, and that's sort of like an evolutionary change. It's something that will not break existing programs. It's something that will be deployed at some point soon in the next few weeks. And at the same time, we're working on a much bigger change, which is the V2 version, which is the topic of tomorrow's call. And there we are breaking things a bit to improve things in a more revolutionary way. And so, yeah, Alex is going to present the changes that we're going to do, how it's going to change the SDK, and he's going to talk, I presume, about the better performance that we're going to have. So yeah, it's going to be definitely an interesting call. You should watch it.
Yeah,
sounds
I'm sure you'll.
It sounds like a can't miss event. We'll be there.
I'm sure you're going to talk about it tomorrow, but for non-upgradable programs, I assume that'll be problematic. There must be some workaround for that.
I mean, no, obviously the plan is to deploy the new runtime and keep the old runtime working at the same time for the foreseeable future. And then maybe at some point in the far distant future, we will disable the old one. But for now, we're not even thinking about that. Obviously, we will keep everything working.
Got it. Okay, cool. Well, yeah, looking forward to it. Okay. Yeah, so some updates for mainnet. 1.13.6 is recommended for mainnet beta. So if you're not upgraded, please upgrade. As well, 1.14.13 should be cut at some point today. It'll be recommended for testnet, and the call will go out for about 10% of stake to move on mainnet as well. So if you're thinking about upgrading to 1.14.12, I would wait for this one to be upgraded or released and put out there. 1.14.13 should hopefully be the one that gets adopted on mainnet. So any questions on that? No? Okay, so announcement hopefully sometime today. And then on testnet, 1.14.12 is recommended, but like I mentioned, 1.14.13 also should be coming out sometime today. Watch out for the announcement and upgrade. Yeah, Zentetsu, go ahead.
Yeah, so I just went to 1.14.12. I thought that was what 1.14.13 is. Apparently, I thought that was going to be the thing that we were sort of, you know, working towards for the next month or so, but I guess not. So what will I miss if I don't upgrade to 1.14.13? Because I really don't want to do it again.
Fair question. The release notes aren't out yet. There were a couple. Let me go check out Relang real quick. So they were waiting on a couple changes. I think one of them was docs related, so that's not critical. Some log message changes. Loader utils. So yeah, I mean, you can make your sort of determination on what.
I guess I'll have to read change log myself, but if there's no changes that materially affect validator operations, that I don't see why there would need to be a 1.14.13 cut. So maybe I'll have to read to see, because there must be a reason that they want that to be, you know, upgraded to instead of 1.14.12. So I guess I'll read about it.
Yeah, there was one change that they were waiting on. So yeah, we'll look in the release notes today. I don't want to make commitments before they release it, but yeah, that should hopefully clarify things. More. Okay. One more announcement I want to put out there, and then we'll switch to comments in the chat. So I planned on doing an educational workshop the previous week, but because of some issues with the SFDP, I never got around to it. So this will definitely happen next week. I just want to put another call out there, focusing on security, especially since the security incident we saw before with people losing their identity keys or getting identity keys compromised. Wanted to go over that stuff. So this will be on Wednesday, January 20th, 10 a.m. Pacific, 1800 UTC. And one more call out for anybody who's interested in running a workshop. I found them pretty useful. I know Zentetsu attended one too, found it useful. Others, I'm sure, here attended. I think it's a good way to kind of just build community and share secrets and, you know, just get everybody up to speed on kind of what people are doing and how their operations work, and share knowledge. So anyway, I encourage everyone to participate if you can, or if you're able to, and potentially run a workshop that you're passionate about. All right. So with that, I see at least one question in there in the chat. So CodeMonkey is asking, is there any thought about having a RPC meeting geared towards RPC operators? There seems to be a big gap with the core team supporting validator operations over the RPC operators. As someone that runs both, I would love to see some of the core team become a lot more involved in the RPC side. Yeah, fair point. I think we do have some RPC specific support. I think maybe we could move that a little bit more to Discord, because some of the channels are a little bit more tightly, I don't want to say exclusionary, but it's geared towards operators that operate a lot of RPC nodes on the network. But having said all that, like it's something we can think about. Curious if any other people have thoughts or discussions, points about that. Yeah, go ahead, Code Monkey.
Hey, appreciate that, Tim. I was trying to wait for the right time to ask the question, so I didn't interrupt anything else. But yeah, I think my big thing is there's two pretty major bugs right now that are occurring that I feel like hasn't gotten a lot of attention. I don't want to hijack this meeting by any means. I know it's focused on the validator side of things, but if we could get some sort of sense of urgency on those matters, I think, you know, all of us, I would say majority of us that are validator operators also operate pretty large farms of RPC infra. So I don't know if there needs to be an escalation point of, you know, or who that right person is. I think, you know, it's not pretty well defined who that person is from the core team. So, you know, if we could have some clarification there, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I'll say having been in, you know, in the foundation and working with labs a lot over the past year, I would say it's usually kind of undefined who the escalation point is, even internally. You know, that's the beauty and sort of the frustration of being a decentralized organization. But yeah, I could try to get some clarity on that for you. I know that, you know, certain things have been frustrating for you in particular. So
yeah,
happy to take that as a point.
Greatly appreciate that as well.
Yeah, add a note for that. Yeah, there's one other comment in the chat. I accidentally put the 20th on this slide for the workshop. It's Wednesday the 25th. So not tomorrow, next week on Wednesday. Any other questions, comments, things people want to bring up?
Happy 400th epoch.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something.
Why not celebrate, right? Yeah, come on.
Yeah.
It's a round number.
400 is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah. Have you, how many people on the call have been here since the first epoch on mainnet? Curious.
2, Mike and me. Who else? Well, there's got to be others. There's others that are just not on camera, but Mike and I. Yeah.
At least a couple. Yeah, it's pretty cool.
And who wishes they'd been since?
Yeah, exactly.
Everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, Michael Vines is here. Hey. Michael was there too.
Yep.
Hey, yep. I was.
Cool. Yeah, well, congrats on 400, everyone. And that's all I got. So thanks, everybody. And we'll see you again in 2 weeks. Next call will be the late one. So 11 p.m. Pacific.
Thanks, Tim.
See ya.
Appreciate it.
Thanks, Tim. Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Tim.